Jesus the son of Navi was valiant in the wars, and was the successor of Moses in prophecies, who according to his name was made great for serving the elect of God, and taking vengeance of the enemies that rose up against them, that he might set Israel in their inheritance. How great glory gat he, when he did lift up his hands, and stretched out his sword against the cities. Who before him so stood to it? For the Lord himself brought his enemies to him. Did not the sun go back by his means, and was not one day as long as two? He called upon the Most High Lord, when the enemies pressed upon him on every side, and the great Lord heard him. And with hailstones of mighty power he made the battle to fall violently upon the nations. And in the descent of Bethhoron he destroyed them that resisted, that the nations might know all their strength, because he fought in the sight of the Lord, and he followed the mighty one. In the time of Moses he also did a work of mercy, he and Caleb the son of Jephunneh, in that they withstood the congregation, and withheld the people from sin, and appeased the wicked murmuring. And of 600,000 people on foot, they too were preserved, to bring them into the heritage, even to the land that flows with milk and honey. The Lord gave strength also to Caleb, who remains with him to his old age, so that he entered upon the high places of the land, and his seed obtained it for a heritage, that all the children of Israel might see that it is good to follow the Lord. And concerning the judges, every one by name, whose heart went not a whoring, nor departed from the Lord, let their memory be blessed. Let their bones flourish out of their place, and let the name of them that were honored be continued upon their children. Samuel the prophet of the Lord, beloved of his Lord, established a kingdom, and anointed princes over his people. By the law of the Lord he judged the congregation, and the Lord had respect to Jacob. By his faithfulness he was found a true prophet, and by his word he was known to be faithful in vision. He called upon the mighty Lord, when his enemies pressed upon him on every side, when he offered the sucking lamb. And the Lord thundered from heaven, and with a great noise made his voice to be heard. And he destroyed the rulers of the Tyrians, and all the princes of the Philistines. And before his long sleep he made protestations in the sight of the Lord and his anointed. I have not taken any man's goods, so much as a shoe, and no man did accuse him. And after his death he prophesied, and showed the king his end, and lifted up his voice from the earth in prophecy, to blot out the wickedness of the people. And after him rose up Nathan to prophesy in the time of David. As is the fat taken away from the peace offering, so was David chosen out of the children of Israel. He played with lions as with kids, and with bears as with lambs. Slew he not the giant when he was yet but young? And did he not take away reproach from the people, when he lifted up his hand with the stone and the sling, and beat down the boasting of Goliath? For he called upon the Most High Lord, and he gave him strength in his right hand to slay that mighty warrior, and to set up the horn of his people. So the people honored him with 10,000s, and praised him in the blessings of the Lord. In that he gave him a crown of glory. For he destroyed the enemies on every side, and brought to naught the Philistines his adversaries, and broke their horn in sunder to this day. In all his works he praised the Holy One Most High with words of glory. With his whole heart he sung songs, and loved him that made him. He set singers also before the altar, that by their voices they might make sweet melody, and daily sing praises in their songs. He beautified their feasts, and set in order the solemn times until the end, that they might praise his holy name, and that the temple might sound from morning. The Lord took away his sins, and exalted his horn forever. He gave him a covenant of kings, and a throne of glory in Israel. After him rose up a wise son, and for his sake he dwelt at large. Solomon reigned in a peaceable time, and was honored, for God made all quiet round about him, that he might build a house in his name, and prepare his sanctuary forever. How wise were you in your youth, and as a flood filled with understanding. Your soul covered the whole earth, and you filled it with dark parables. Your name went far to the islands, and for your peace you were beloved. The countries marveled at you for your songs, and proverbs, and parables, and interpretations. By the name of the Lord God, that is called the Lord God of Israel, you did gather gold as tin, and did multiply silver as lead. You did bow your loins to women, and by your body you were brought into subjection. You did stain your honor, and pollute your seed, so that you brought wrath upon your children, and were grieved for your folly. So the kingdom was divided, and out of Ephraim ruled a rebellious kingdom. But the Lord will never leave off his mercy, neither will any of his works perish, neither will he abolish the posterity of his elect, and the seed of him that loves him he will not take away. Therefore he gave a remnant to Jacob, and out of him a root to David. Thus rested Solomon with his fathers, and of his seed he left behind him Rehoboam, even the foolishness of the people, and one that had no understanding, who turned away the people through his counsel. There was also Jeroboam, the son of Nebat, who caused Israel to sin, and showed Ephraim the way of sin. And their sins were multiplied exceedingly, that they were driven out of the land. For they sought out all wickedness, till the vengeance came upon them. Then stood up Elijah, the prophet, as fire, and his word burned like a lamp. He brought a sore famine upon them, and by his zeal he diminished their number. By the word of the Lord he shut up the heaven, and also 3 times brought down fire. O Elijah, how were you honored in your wondrous deeds, and who may glory like you? Who did raise up a dead man from death, and his soul from the place of the dead, by the word of the Most High? Who brought kings to destruction, and honorable men from their bed? Who heard the rebuke of the Lord in Sinai, and in Horeb the judgment of vengeance? Who anointed kings to take revenge, and prophets to succeed after him? Who was taken up in a whirlwind of fire, and in a chariot of fiery horses? Who was ordained for reproofs in their times, to pacify the wrath of the Lord's judgments, before it broke forth into fury, and to turn the heart of the father to the son, and to restore the tribes of Jacob. Blessed are they that saw you, and slept in love, for we will surely live. Elijah it was, who was covered with a whirlwind, and Elisha was filled with his spirit. While he lived, he was not moved with the presence of any prince, neither could any bring him into subjection. No word could overcome him, and after his death his body prophesied. He did wonders in his life, and at his death were his works marvelous. For all this the people repented not, neither departed from their sins, till they were spoiled and carried out of their land, and were scattered through all the earth. Yet there remained a small people, and a ruler in the house of David, of whom some did which was pleasing to God, and some multiplied sins. Ezekiel fortified his city, and brought in water into the midst thereof. He digged the hard rock with iron, and made wells for waters. In his time Sennacherib came up, and sent Rabsaces, and lifted up his hand against Sion, and boasted proudly. Then trembled their hearts and hands, and they were in pain, as women in travail. But they called upon the Lord, which is merciful, and stretched out their hands toward him. And immediately the Holy One heard them out of heaven, and delivered them by the ministry of Isaiah. He smote the host of the Assyrians, and his angel destroyed them. For Ezekiel had done the thing that pleased the Lord, and was strong in the ways of David his father, as Isaiah the prophet, who was great and faithful in his vision, had commanded him. In his time the sun went backward, and he lengthened the king's life. He saw by an excellent spirit what should come to pass at the last, and he comforted them that mourned in Zion. He showed what should come to pass forever, and secret things wherever they came.